Okay. Can you give me his email and in the chat, and then I'll send. Yes.
Jyotika, and then some like email.com or something.
Yeah. Nina, why don't you forward her email address to Trin?
What is it?
You either need to forward Trin's email address to Jyotika or forward Jyotika's email address to Trin.
I try, but I'm not so good at those things with my computer. You know, when I do something, I make.
1 second, I will send the email address of Jyotika in the chat to Trin.
Right,
Okay,
that's the
thanks.
best thing. Yes.
Yeah.
She tried last week too. You see, she's very keen.
Yeah, just send her details to Trin is the best thing. Thanks, Carmen.
And that is
Trin just sent something, a message asking for Jyotika's.
She asked for Jyotika.
No.
It's just Jyotika is the email. Just
I'm sending it to him now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. In a private message, so you cannot see.
Because I cannot do much on the computer. I get lost.
Yes, he received it, he says, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ajahn, are you here now? Kun M, is Ajahn here now?
A minute, she says.
Right.
I'm here.
Sawadika, Tanajan.
Sawadika.
Ajahn.
Shall we begin?
Let's begin, yes. Nina or anyone, do you have anything you would like to start with?
Yes, I can start with something. I was so impressed last time because Tadao asked Buddha Nusati to pay respect to the Buddha. And Sarah said, you don't have to do anything special. It's not a matter of going somewhere. And then Ajahn gave a very good reply, very impressive, that when you understand reality now and with gratefulness, it's a way of respect, and one can consider where is it coming from, all these teachings, and that will be a way to think of the Buddha and with respect and of paying respect. I like that very much because we are used to going to a place like in India and then pay respect doing something. But I like very much the answer all the time. It's a matter of understanding reality now. It's actually an answer to many questions, like a good friend by Alan. Alan asked, who's the good friend? It's not a person, but it is the understanding of reality now. I like this answer. It's very good.
So now, it is the moment of Buddhanusati from your words. Because there must be sati at moment of thinking about the virtues and his great compassion so that we can understand what is now appearing. We don't have to say just this is Buddhanusati or Dhammanusati or Sanghanusati, but at that moment, what does sati be aware of? See, the virtues, the great compassion of Buddha. So it is in word, Buddhanusati. So
I
the
hadn't
word,
thought of it before like this. I really am impressed by this.
so the words of the Buddha just for understanding. Otherwise, it's useless. No matter how much he talk about the truth of the reality at any moment, even now. More confidence on his enlightenment and his words, and then thinking about his great wisdom, compassion, and purity at that moment. We don't think of the other at all, just only his virtues. So that is Buddhanusati. In words, but in reality it is sati, which does not think about other things, but thinking about the truth of his words and reality.
And it's this moment, it's not thinking of another moment in India or when we're in the temple. It's this very moment. Like last time we were also talking about Upanisya Gotra and Araka Gotra, and how it's the understanding which develops, which protects from going astray or following one's normal desires and taking one away from the understanding of reality at this moment. And this is also Dhammanusati and Buddhanusati, appreciating who taught this particular gotra to be understood at this moment. So I think all the teachings lead to the appreciation of the Buddha's qualities and the understanding of Dhamma and the understanding of or appreciation of those who have shared the teachings before. But it's always this moment.
This is very helpful, that it is stressed all the time, that it is this moment.
Ajahn, just while it's a little quiet at the beginning, I'll come in with a point. I've been discussing with Alberto and Sundra about something that you used to mention quite a bit before about sama and visama lobha. And you used to give an example of when the lobha is very strong or very abnormal as being visama lobha, and when it is ordinary as being sama. And when I mentioned it the other day, and Azita asked me to say more, and you made a comment that from your understanding now that as I understood you, that ordinary lobha now, lobha that we know about is visama, and the sama is the very subtle asava. But when we looked in the texts, Alberto and Sundra looked at quite a few texts, and we can find quite a few examples of visama lobha referring to strong lobha, but not to sama lobha. Could you add a little more about your understanding?
I think that when it's not such wrong speech and deeds as karma, it is very natural and in a day, like eating, doing something that is samma lobha. It's not as high as strong as the other level, which shows the visama over usual.
Over the top, unusual. You used to give the example of just smelling a flower, for example, or just the lobha that doesn't hurt or harm the others as being sama. But in the one or two of the texts we were looking at, for example, Alberto gave us one text, and it refers to, this is in Mahanidesa, Book of Tens, the commentary to the Anguttara Book of Tens, and it refers to the 5 causes and conditions for doing bad karma and the 5 causes and conditions for doing good karma. And then at the end, it mentions that the bad karma, the unrighteous, the conduct contrary to the Dharma is visamacharya, contrary to the Dharma, and the conduct which is righteous conduct in accordance with the Dharma is samacharya. So in this context, it seems that visama is referring to, like you say, the very bad akusala that is particularly harmful, but the samacharya is referring to kusala qualities. Do you have any, they were wondering if you have any reference or anything anywhere that you were thinking of that refers to sama as being the ordinary lobha or the akusala that's not so strong?
What is the truth, reality, different?
The important point is now that, yes, lobha, there's lobha now at almost every moment, and whatever word it's called, whether it's strong or weak, there are different degrees. I mean, this is the main point, I think.
And also depends on the context.
Yes.
Too. For example, when we talk about kusala, see,
กินข้าวที่บ้านครับ
it's different.
กินข้าวไข่เจียวเหมือนเดิม
Okay. So on the context, yes. So sometimes, like in this context, it's referring to kusala and akusala charya, but in another context of lobha, then maybe it's different. But I think the main point is, no matter what the word or the context is, there is lobha now appearing, and there can be understanding, and the understanding can know whether it's the very abnormal, harmful lobha that brings its results, or whether it's the common, ordinary lobha that, like when eating or smelling flowers or something. I think this is the main point.
And for monks and lay people, different again, and according to Panya, more or less to understand that very moment, even so little, but for that person, it's so great, big enough to be known.
Right. Even the
Sarah,
to be known.
excuse me, Sarah, excuse
Yes.
me, sorry. Sarah, at that time you just said a moment ago that they wanted to know. I did not want to know at all. Excuse me, I want to clarify that. I did not want to know at all. I was quite happy with the place we were at, what we had been established with the help of Alberto, but I wasn't wanting to push the point further. But you implied that quite distinctly that I wanted to, but that's not quite true. I was wanting a quote. That was not quite true.
I think the point was just that you were questioning whether it was correct, whether there could be any reference to sama lobha, sama akusala, and you suggested that I bring it up with a jump, but it's not important. What's important is the reality at this very moment, the lobha now, the disturbance now, the seeing now, what appears right now.
I remember Ajahn talking about Visama Lobha exactly as the text says. It's the Lobha which conditions Kamapata, which conditions I don't remember Ajahn talking about Sama Lobha in the terms that you're saying as weak Lobha. I don't remember that. Maybe.
Well, she just was a few minutes ago. She was talking about sama lobha as the ordinary common lobha.
Well, yeah, that's right, but not before that.
Yeah, in the old days, maybe before you joined, quite often, Nina and Jonathan will remember.
yeah, and about sama, in the text I found sama means just kusala, and visama akusala. So as I said, it's not really a point of the word, but to understand that visama is maybe even now is there visama, or is it sama, in the sense that it all comes back to the present moment, and otherwise it's just words, as you were saying. So
it's all about understanding what appears now, no matter whether one has the text term right or not. It's the teachings, whatever we read, whatever we study, is for the understanding of this very moment, what appears now. There's seeing now, there's disturbance now, there's clinging now. If there's no understanding of what appears now, all the reading and the study is quite useless. So it always comes back to the understanding of dhammas now as anatta. I think this is the main point.
yeah, indeed.
Sarah, how do you spell sama, the not so strong lopa?
S-A-M-A. Usually, Sundra rightly said, sama means it refers to what is even or kusala. So this is why there was people were wondering about.
And the other sama.
Visama, V-I-S-A-M-A. Visama.
Stronger one.
Visama, out of the ordinary, or just powerful. Like I just found a reference to Visama Loba as referring to powerful Loba.
Okay.
Very strong one. Yes.
I just want to ask that when we say Samma and Michha, it's like right and wrong. So I'm just meaning that akusala is wrong, is bad, and kusala is good and right.
Then it's Samma.
Haji, you're talking about completely different words there. One is samma and one is sama. They've only got one vowel. And that's why it's really important when you do pronounce Pali, sometimes to avoid misunderstanding, you accent perhaps the vowel or not, or if it's a double consonant, you pronounce it, because otherwise there can be a lot of misunderstanding.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else you would like to add, Ajahn, or shall we move on to another topic?
I think that what should be known now, rather than thinking or trying to explain what you taste, what level is there. For example, sweetness or bitterness. At the moment when it is tasted, only the citta which tastes it can experience that as it is. But what about the words trying to explain how much is there, how less is it, how sharp is there, or how just not sharp? See, beyond the others' wisdom. For example, Pacceka Buddha, he experiences the noble truth, the Four Noble Truths as Buddha. But when he talk about it, is it as clear as much as Buddha just talk about the details, very, very detailed of each word? For the other to understand the truth, that what we are talking about is not the moment of directly experience it. So no matter I try to tell you how sweet it is when I tasted it, it's impossible for anyone to know how much or how less it is. See? So we try to find out the moment when Visamalopa is there or Samalopa is there. As much as we can understand is that when it's ordinary, eating food and walking, taking a bath or any time, sometimes the attachment can appear, but usually not every moment as it is. That's why as much as we can understand that even it's not the level of strong Visamalopa, but still it's there as not Visama, but it is Samalopa, just to understand that. Enough to understand, but as long as it's not just Nama, that which experiences, and that which no matter it is the sound or the taste or the hardness or softness, it cannot appear as it is yet, as not anything at all. It cannot be clear comprehension of what is meant by Nama and Rupa, even right now. So the point is understanding that actually, no matter we are talking about the degree of Lopa, it's not anyone at all. It just arises by conditions and fall away before it can be known directly, clearly as it pops up, see? So there are so many degrees of understanding of just what we are talking about, the word Lopa. The moment when it's there is not the moment that we are talking about. But to learn that no matter what degrees, Lopa cannot be anyone at all. It has its own function and its own characteristic to be known as no one at all, even right now. Is there Samalopa or Visamalopa?
There is Lopa, but Ajahn, when we say it does not appear with wisdom, it's appear with
So we
ignorance.
just talk about it. See,
Yeah.
not knowing that it's not self, as long as it does not appear as no self, it only the experiencing and that which cannot experience. That's the point. By then we can understand what's meant by what is Nama and what is Rupa, not by words.
This, Ajahn, I find difficult that you say to know it as Nama and not as Rupa. This point I find difficult to follow.
Because what is the object of experience is usually Rupa, right?
Yeah, yes.
Sight and the sound, for example, who is thinking or considering the nature which is there, experience that. No I, no one. This is the point to understand the truth in life. There are nothing at all, only that which is conditioned to arise to be the experiencing or that which cannot experience, and then gone completely. The whole life is just like this, just experiences and then no more. And when the death comes, all gone completely, because now we can think about what is heard or seen before, and it's something in our mind. But actually, the absolute truth is that nothing is left, even this moment, to begin to understand the nature which is not self. And then, no matter we call it Samalopa or Visalopa, it's the moment of it's there to be known as not self. Otherwise, there cannot be very clear comprehension of Nama and Rupa with Patrichetayana. Jnana begins and develops, having more confidence of the truth of no one. So, no matter it appears as Malopa or Visamalopa, no word, but the difference between the level of each reality is there to be known, but not just to be said or talked about. But at that moment, it's there. Can anyone express or explain how much it's there? Sweet, soft? It has to be directly experienced. But the understanding of no one there, no matter whether it is Samma or Visamalopa or whatever, by words. The understanding of that characteristic of not self is the point of listening to the teachings. the point of Buddha to teach Dhamma, to understand the absolute truth. Because no one can understand by oneself at all. We just understand the word and thinking about the word, but what about the experiencing now? No one. It is now experiencing whatever appears as no one, but the idea of something is always there because of ignorance. Never thought about the truth, no word to bring about the moment of understanding that which is now as it is, as no one. Little by little, Panya is working its way at moment of understanding the truth of that which appears, that which experiences, and that which is experienced. Only that in life, each moment, just to be conditioned to arise performing the function of different ones, different reality, and then fall away, never to return, never to arise again. In samsara, not just only in this life, just gone as soon as it's there. Otherwise, I cannot be less clinging to that as something, or I, with different level of attachment and akusala. So each word, just one word or two words, carefully thought about, understanding the truth more, will lead to the end, the eradication of anusaya.
And if there wasn't the accumulation of the ordinary lobha again and again and again, it wouldn't condition the strong or abnormal lobha strong enough to really cause harm and disturbance to oneself and others, and to condition its result and lead to a lot of anguish. So even though it's just the ordinary lobha now, it accumulates on and on. So it has to be understood as well as Dhamma, not my lobha, not my disturbance. So it's helpful to appreciate the different levels from the anusia, the tendency which doesn't arise, that conditions the subtle or low-level lobha, which conditions the very strong lobha in life, often unexpectedly. And I think when you were talking about Araka Gochara last time, it is the understanding which leads to the protection from following such strong lobha and going astray, forgetting about what is important at this very moment.
I think it's difficult to understand even the weak lobha. Some moments may appear sometimes, but mostly it's unknown.
Buddha have he said that if kilesa was rupa, then even the infinite universe can't even fit in. So it just shows that actually what has been accumulated is more than infinite. So it's more than just ordinary, or what, like thief, or when the lobha is very powerful, but actually what accumulate is more than that, because samsara is already long and long. So whether it's lopa, tosa, or moha. So
Alberto, do you have any more comments on what Ajahn was referring to as sama and visama lobha?
How about letting it go?
I think so, because in the end, it isn't the words. It's about right now. It's about understanding what appears, and who knows what reference one comes across at different times. So often when I've forgotten about something completely, I find the right reference. And so I think it's just good to get back, always come back to the point of the reality at this moment. Yeah. Otherwise it's just more and more Loba clinging to the story about the word. Yeah. So a good example.
Yeah. About Visama Loba, it's strong. As Ajahn was saying, the heartbeat is to, it's not just to not try to have it, but seeing it when it's there as a reality.
Not my Loba or anyone,
not my Loba, yeah.
Just that powerful or balava Loba. That's right.
Yeah.
It causes a lot of trouble in life. So it's about understanding the Dhamma, and even the slight Loba, as Nina mentioned, difficult to know. So it's not a matter of trying to find it or trying to catch it or trying to understand it, but gradually as understanding develops, it understands lesser kinds of Loba too. Not by trying to understand it, but when it appears, it's also a Dhamma, just the ordinary common Loba, like even now during a discussion when we see our friends or talk about Dhamma, so many moments of ordinary Loba in between, so common.
Oh yeah, must be to get to the level of be strong enough to do Akusala Kamapata must be built up by being like Ajahn was saying, like accumulating it until it gets to that when there is no understanding of it, it can only accumulate, because when it's there, when it's there, I don't know, it's like not seeing it there because of ignorance, together with attachment, and so it's just no matter we talk about it or not, it's there, and
that's right.
It's
like
unknown.
Even now, looking out of the window or any moments,
no
touching the skin, yes,
it's there,
opening
it's
the
there.
text, it's there, so common. Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, I think it's a good topic, so thank you to you and Sundara and anyone else for the point.
Thank you.
I'd like to bring up one other comment that came through the same message, and it was on Sundara's one, and he'd written one commentarial gloss on anatta is powerless. And I thought at first that was a bit strange, but then it goes on, hardness that appears now cannot be changed into something else. It is powerless to be anything other than what it is. And when I start to think about that, I thought that was a really good word for anatta. You know, well, especially when it's elaborated on, that realities are what they are. They cannot possibly be changed by anyone or themselves. They can't change into something else. So I've taken powerless as something really, something worthwhile. So thank you, Sundara.
This is one of the meanings of anatta, no mastery over. Yes.
Yeah.
No one has mastery over them.
Or I think in powerless also is appropriate, but it just shows that Dhamma are uncontrollable. When their idea of control and can do that, not understanding the anatta-ness of Dhamma, that's forgot. I just want to have a talk about nimitta. I was reading about nimittas, about nimitta of reality or nimitta that is concept. Like now they're seeing, right? But it's just not one moment of seeing, because it doesn't, if it's only just one moment, it doesn't appear, but there is repetitive of seeing, and then there is sign of that seeing, that we say that seeing, that is sign of reality that's arising and fall away. So that sign, that nimitta, is also Paramatma that which the Satipatthana or Vipassana can develop, because it has characteristic of sign of reality that fallen and rising away, because just one moment is too is beyond fast. Is we live in the world of nimitta, whether it's rupa nimitta, sanya nimitta, vedana nimitta, sankhara nimitta, or vinyana nimitta. Am I right?
Excuse me, Haji, but how do concepts have a nimitta?
No. Nimitta is in different terms, different the concept of nimitta, that is nimit and anupayanchana, that is concept. But there is reality, that's why there is concept.
Does nimitta have a concept?
No, there's many different terms, like we have to see what we are talking. If we talk about sankhara nimitta, it's a sign of reality that arises and fall away.
That's a sign of reality. It can't be a sign of a concept.
No. But what we talk about, like nimit and anupayanchana, like what I'm trying to say, like we see like eye away, eye doorway, flower, and all that, those things, that is nimit and anupayanchana, which is concept, which is but there is arising and falling of reality. That's why there is concept. But
yes, there's a reality, but not the concept itself as an nimitta. The reality is a concept.
No, what I'm trying to say that sankhara nimitta is nimitta of reality. So that nimitta is also Paramatma. But when we term nimitta and anupayanchana, whether it's eye or ear and all that, that is concept. But there is reality, that's why there's concept. Am I right?
It still goes back to a reality. So forget the concept. It's just the reality.
No. Yeah, I get it. So what Ajahn said, that we live in the world of nimitta. Here, does this mean like, because
we live in the world of nimitta, because without nimitta there can't be concepts.
No, but what I think mean that, like right now, if suppose someone is seeing there, and we say that they're seeing it, we know by the way of nimitta of Dhamma, because just one is too short, it does not appear, but there is repetitive of each one. That's why there is sign of reality. So whether it's feeling sukh, dukh, thomana, somana, they have to be. If just one moment is too short, it's impossible, but there is repetitive of that, and there's sign of that reality. So that way we know way of
sign of a reality. But without that sign of a reality, there could not be the creation of a concept.
So we live in the world of nimitta because one is too fast to appear, right? Am I right? I just want to plan.
Oh, they're all fast. I mean,
yeah.
So that's why I wonder. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah, John. Yeah.
When there's awareness of any reality, it's and when awareness is being developed, of course, it doesn't see a single moment. The understanding is too weak to have as object a single moment of reality. So obviously, it is because of many moments of reality are of the same reality, arising and falling away. And so it is said that the object of the awareness and understanding then is the nimitta of the reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's what you're getting at, Haji, is that right?
And I think the main point, Haji, is we can think a long story about it, about how many moments and so on. But what's important is if there is awareness now of visible object or hardness now, it's aware of the characteristic of what appears at this moment. No need to think about how many visible objects have arisen and fallen away. It's just the reality, and the visible object itself has gone. So it is awareness of the nimitta of that visible object that appears now. But at the moment of awareness, there's no thinking about whether it's nimitta or not, or how many visible objects, or so it's just, the point is just the understanding of what appears at this moment. But in fact, that visible object must have gone already.
Yeah, because one moment is impossible, it's too extremely fast, but they have to be repetitive, and we know
countless moments of visible object are seen. But when there is understanding and awareness of the reality of visible object, the nimitta of visible object, it's just the understanding and awareness of the characteristic of that reality. No need to think about
that nimitta is also Paramata-Dhamma. So that nimitta is also a Paramata-Dhamma, the sign of
the sign of of the reality itself. It's a sign of reality.
So it
and
is
the understanding gets closer and closer to understanding the nimitta of the reality, as opposed to the idea about the visible object, like now when we're talking about it.
Yeah, because I have read that Nibbana is called Animitta because there's no sign of reality that's fallen and arisen and fallen away. So that's why what I understood. Sarah, your mic is...
It doesn't fall away, so no, it's the one Intl.Dhamma. Even when it's the highly developed understanding, vipassana jnana, and the understanding of realities just before the realization of nibbana, it still has to be the nimitta of reality, which is experienced. So it's the understanding of reality, it's the understanding of the nimitta of reality. Even when it's the understanding of the rising and falling away of reality, is nimitta of the reality. But the main point is just the understanding of what appears. Otherwise, we get lost in the whole story, following Lopa again, trying to work out all the details, rather than understanding what appears. But it must be always the nimitta of the reality.
And another meaning in terms of nimitta is nimit and anupayanchana, that is concept, but there has to be reality. That's why there's concept. It's impossible to have concept without reality. But like highway, like flower and all that, like maybe moving a circle, like what Ajahn said, like fire, and it's appear as a circle, but actually circle is more like an illusion, right? Because reality is there's no me, Harji, Sarah, or flower, anything. There's the only reality through eye is visible object. So I'm right.
Like now, it depends what is known, whether it's the reality or the details of the reality. And no matter whether you call it the details of the reality or the concept, it is just that which appears now. Otherwise, we get too lost in trying to find the fine line. Is this the reality? Is this concept? And instead of just understanding what appears right now.
And Ajahn, I have heard in another discussion, nimitta, like visible object, is a sign that if there's color, there has to be earth, water, fire, and wind element, and other three upatthaya rupa. So that also another it's a sign to show that where's this visible object, there have to be earth, water, wind, and fire.
Because visible object can only arise in a group, and in a group have to be minimum 8 rupas. So besides visible object, there have to be the 7 other rupas, and this is why each visible object is different, conditioned by the other primary elements it arises with. And so we know that the other rupas are there, but at the moment of understanding visible object, no thought about what are the other rupas. Only visible object impinges on eye sense, and only visible object is seen.
Sarah, I want to ask, I understand that the earth, water, wind, and fire is Mahaputarupa because it's conditioned for all other Upatthaya Rupa 24, but not the other way around.
Right. So the primary rupas condition each other by Sahajata, Paccaya, and other Anya, Manya, Pachya, other conditions. And they also condition the other rupas which depend on them, but not the other way round. So they are the condition for the visible object and the other rupas, but the other rupas are not the condition for the primary rupas.
But what about the Upathaya Rupa? So I'm not sure. Like Mahaputa Rupa is basic, is condition for all other Rupa. But what about Upathaya itself? Like, do they condition for each other? Do you understand? Like, visible object is like when they, like in one Kalapa, there's earth, fire, water, and wind. There's the visible object. There is smell, there's taste, and there's another. I'm not sure.
They're all conditioned by the primary rupas. The primary rupas condition each other, and the primary rupas condition the derived rupas. So the primary rupas condition each other by Sahajata Pachya, and they condition the other dependent rupas by Sahajata Pachya, but the dependent rupas don't condition the primary rupas.
But do
each other in this way. Yes. So they are conditioned all by the primary rupas.
So if I say that visible object is also conditioned for smell and smell for visible object, that's not right, right?
I think it's just the primary rupas that are conditioned for the visible object and for the smell.
But in Chit and Chetasika, they are conditioned for each other because one cannot arise.
They mutually condition each other by Sahajata Pachya. Each one conditions each other.
Each Rati Nama for condition for each other Nama at that moment.
Yes. Yeah. And at the first moment of life, this came up in another topic. So the first moment of life, the Chitta, which is conditioned by past karma, the Patisandhi Chitta, that karma also conditions 3 groups of rupa at that same moment. And one of them is the Hadaya Watu group, and one is masculinity, femininity, and one is the body sense group. And the Chitta conditions those rupas, but the Hadaya rupa and the Chitta condition each other by they mutually condition each other, but the other groups of rupa don't condition the Chitta. So that's why the conditions are very intricate and one has to study and consider each one carefully. Thanks, Haji. Does anyone else have any topics they would like to bring up or ask Ajahn about?
Sarah, why doesn't the Pacceka Buddha teach?
I think the Pacceka Buddha doesn't have the skills and means to teach. So the Sammasambuddha not only is fully enlightened, but he has, because of the paramis developed for so many aeons, he has the skills and means to make that teaching available to others, but the Pacceka Buddha doesn't have that skill or means, but maybe Ajahn can add more or someone else.
Is there any difference between Sammasambuddha and Pacceka Buddha?
There must be, yes.
So what's the difference?
The level of skill that the Sammasambuddha has developed in developing understanding of realities, but also I think general skill. He must be very good at language as well.
Sammasambuddha he knows everything. Who is Sammasambuddha? There's not that Sapanyu is Bali word, means the one who knows everything. And Pacceka Buddha doesn't enlighten by himself, but doesn't know everything.
So different levels of understanding.
Yeah. And if like what you're trying to say, if you say that Pacceka Buddha suppose if Pache Buddha can teach, then it means that there is religion, there is Buddhism already, there is Paput Patham Pasong, but it's not, because Pache Buddha is not Samma Sambuddha.
Sarah, I'm wondering.
Sorry, but what's the difference in terms of understanding between a Pacceka Buddha and a Samma Sambuddha?
Well, Paccek, Samma Buddha, what we say Sapanyu mean, he's know everything. There's nothing that Buddha don't know. He know every cause and of Dhamma. He enlightened all realities, that to the level of the max of Panya, that is Samma Sambuddha. But Pacceka Buddha, not at that level.
It's like if we ask what is the difference between Sariputta's understanding and the Buddha's understanding. So both are fully enlightened, but the Buddha, like if one looks at all his omniscient wisdom skills, he understood the anusya of every being and the future and the past and every detail, anything he put his mind to. And the Pacceka Buddha is between Sariputta and the Buddha. So he is a Buddha, but doesn't have the paramis that have been accumulated from aeons and aeons like the Buddha to have such omniscient skills and abilities as the Buddha.
Like Pacceka Buddha doesn't have ultimate compassion as Buddha has to teach. That's not ultimate compassion, is only Samma Sambuddha, that to help other to understand Dhamma.
Would it also be true that a Samma Sambuddha would have to be alive during the what I call the dispensation of a Samma Sambuddha, and he basically learned the teaching from the teaching of the Samma Sambuddha at that time, whereas the Samma Sambuddha has learned it all by himself after eons and eons and developing the paramis and everything else.
John, you might speak.
Well, my understanding, Pacceka Buddha also is self-enlightened, meaning that he becomes enlightened without hearing the Dhamma from another in that final lifetime.
Would you like to add anything further, Ajahn?
I appreciate the words of the Buddha. I'd like to hear more. I enjoy hearing Dhamma.
Ajahn, if his wisdom, then if the one who understands, why not to appreciate is most valuable thing. It's true.
Yes. Because it can be the word for considering and reconsidering and reconsidering.
Because it's the truth. That's why.
Would you like to explain the purpose, your interest in this question a little?
By accumulation. That's the way I am from childhood up to now. Enjoy listening to the teaching so much. My happy time is to hear the words of Buddha.
Ajahn,
from whom?
Ajahn, not being disrespectful, but he isn't enjoying lopa. If
What about Chanda?
Okay. It's okay. I understand.
That's why it's not just in the book. It can be understood from the very beginning to the end. there must be chanda.
I think you wanted to ask something.
About what?
No.
No, I was thinking when you said that a Pacheka Buddha does not have the ability to teach, whether that is exactly the reason, because I was thinking that there are many conditions. One of them is that there's no one to hear. I mean, he didn't set out to be a Sambuddha, and because if you say that he cannot teach, it's like saying something that is. I mean, he couldn't have started the sasana. He couldn't have set up the bhikkhu order. He couldn't have laid down the Vinaya. But so that's it. There are many conditions. Not to say that he couldn't teach. Just seems a bit off.
No, if he can teach, then there is religion already. Then
no, here we're talking about ability to teach. I mean, like we communicate with each other.
We know even the Sammasambuddha questioned after his enlightenment who he could teach or whether it was possible, because the teaching is so very deep and very, very subtle. So even for the Sammasambuddha to share so that people can understand, become enlightened, so very, very difficult. And so it takes all the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of a Sammasambuddha to be able to share the Dhamma for the start of the sasana.
Yeah.
Right. So even a Pacheka Buddha, there were not enough conditions for
being able to share. Yes, because of many factors, but not the degree of the paramis and the wisdom that is the Sammasambuddhas.
Then if Pacheka Buddha teaches, then there is already religion, but that's not like that.
From my understanding, Pacheka Buddha, which means Patyeka, single Buddha, but sometimes there are up to 500 Pacheka Buddhas at a time in a certain location. I understand that they can teach or share, but that is very limited. Their abilities are not anywhere near like a Samma Sambuddha who spends something like what's called 4 Asankhya's, the latest Buddha, and there are many different types of Buddhas. The last Buddha, Gautama, was what's known as a wisdom Buddha. And he took 4 Asankhya's and something like 100,000 kappas, which are just completely immeasurable times. We can't ever begin to imagine how long it takes. Devadatta, for example, he will become eventually. I mean, the Buddha, Sambuddha, they meet many Buddhas along their journey. Not necessarily every one of them, but like Dipankara, Sumedha, which is who met Dipankara, that was the Buddha of that time, about 24 Buddhas ago. Sumedha, who was, to become obviously Gautama, he had made that earnest wish, and you have to have certain, obviously, qualities like being a Jnana-labhi. You can be also capable of attaining arahatship yourself in that life. There are a lot of conditions to be able to make an earnest wish like that to eventually become Samma Sambuddha. I don't think that the Pacheka Buddhas go anything like that through that process. As we know, Devadatta, he has accumulated obviously quite a degree of wisdom because he was a Jnana-labhi. He attained very high levels of jhana, actually a rupa jhana. But he used those powers, you might like to say, for very unwise purposes. And he was seriously undone by his behavior. And he was reborn in a very, very low hell. And he'll be there for a long time. But the Buddha did say that eventually he will become a Pacceka Buddha, well, after many millions of years, I suspect. So I would essentially say the difference is that, yes, they can teach, that's my understanding, but it's very limited. They're not without the capability of sharing a little about what they know, but it's nothing like a Samma Sambuddha, their abilities, and nothing like that, who takes, as we know, they develop the paramis over millions and millions of lifetimes, so that each parami is what's called for Samma Sambuddha was level 3. People like Sariputta and Moggallana, their time in samsara before becoming chief disciples is not anywhere near the length of time that the Buddha have. Their parami level is not anywhere near as high as the Buddha. And I think perhaps what it's important to bear in mind too is that the greatest miracle that, because we talked a little bit about this last week, these patiharya, and Ajahn can speak to this, and I'd like to hear a little bit, if we may, Ajahn, about the greatest miracle, not was the miracle of do the twin miracle, as it's called, which makes fire and water come out of the body at the same time. That's only Samma Sambuddhas can do that. And it's important, I was going to make the point last week too, is that it's not just a light show. They just don't put on this spectacular performance. The Buddhas, when they perform this twin miracle, Yamaka Patiharya, they are preaching Dhamma at the same time. So not only are they performing this, I don't like the word miracle really, this stupendous, amazing feat, but they're also teaching Dhamma. So there were sometimes I've heard thousands or tens of thousands of people, Dewa and humans, who were enlightened at the time. So he's not just, you might like to say, showing off or putting on a show. It's quite interesting to note too that the Buddha did not allow the bhikkhus to perform these kind of feats, but he never said, and that included himself. And so sometimes, I think at least on a couple of occasions, he performed this supernormal feat, the Idhi Patiharya, Idhi Yamaka Patiharya. But the greatest miracle is called Anudesana or something like that. I'm not sure exactly the Pali word, Anudesana Patiharya. They have the miracle to be able to teach to sometimes thousands and thousands of people. And they have those people, I understand, have the feeling that the Buddha is speaking exactly to them. It's quite an amazing feat. So Ajahn, would you speak a little bit about the miracle of teaching? I think Anusasana Patiharya, I'm not quite sure of that miracle.
I didn't hear you very well, so please say it again.
Yeah, Tanajan, what I understand is the three types of, well, we call an English word miracle, but I don't really like that word because it's got obvious connotations. Like they have this amazing gift developed over many, many lifetimes. But I understand the most amazing gift of the Buddha is what's called a miracle, or the supernormal power to be able to teach and to share the Dhamma. That is much more powerful than anything else. And I was going to ask you to, if you wouldn't mind, to talk a little about this amazing gift of teaching the Dhamma.
You mean the three kinds of miracles?
Yes, Ajahn, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Talking about what is the best, most worth than the other is the teachings. Anusasani Patihara, right?
Correct, that's it, Ajahn, yeah.
Because the other kinds of miracle cannot condition such miracle, like from not understanding what is now appearing at all, to begin to understand and develop the path of developing right understanding of that which is now appearing, until the anusa is completely eradicated. Is it not the best kind of miracle? Miracle from this moment to understand that which is now appearing, little by little, up to the end. The eradication of all akusala. So what about seeing or hearing about the other kind of miracle? Only that, no understanding of what is now appearing at all. So it is not as worth as understanding what is now appearing, because in reality it's gone, unknown. And the miracle which can experience directly that which is there as it is. No one, only one reality at a time, and arising and falling away. What Buddha taught, each word can be directly experienced. That is the most wonderful miracle.
Ajahn, all Buddha teaching, each word are miracle because they can lead to understanding and eradicate little bit of ignorance a little by a time.
Mm-hmm. So just one word will bring about the understanding of the truth to the end, the eradication of anusaya, thinking about anusaya, not just kilesa in a day, but the anusaya, the cause of all akusala.
So the miracle of miracle, the best of miracle is Buddha teaching all.
The most precious miracle.
Each word, all word.
Mm-hmm.
Because can lead to understanding. That's why it's miracle. Yeah, I understood.
So Ajahn, it is the best of miracles in terms of its function, its use, and the effect on other people? Or is it, as I think Sundara was pointing out, it is also the power, the ability of the Buddha in terms of it's his greatest ability. Because we were talking about how a particular Buddha cannot teach, and being different from a Samma Sambuddha. So what I understood Sundara was pointing to was that this actually showed the difference in his accumulations, that he could teach the Dhamma. Is that also some meaning of being the best miracle, the greatest miracle?
People are different by conditions or just happen to be different. Just happen to be Samma Sambuddha, happen to be Paccekabuddha, or there must be conditions for being such difference.
By accumulations, yes.
Yeah. So the difference between Samma Sambuddha and Paccekabuddha, does a Samma Sambuddha understand the truth better than Sariputta, less than Buddha?
Samma Sambuddha has the highest understanding, highest level of understanding.
And for Sariputta, less or more?
Less than Samma Sambuddha.
See, but the truth is so very, very difficult to explain, to share with the other. But the words can bring about the understanding of, for example, the Samalopa and Vichamalopa and other words. Just one little word will bring about the understanding of the truth, leading to the end, the enlightenment of the truth, the eradication of anusaya, see, not just only kilesa and nivarana, but anusaya, see. So the Paccekabuddha experience the truth more or less than Sariputta?
More.
No, Paccekabuddha has higher wisdom than Sariputta.
Yeah.
Okay, but what Buddha taught, the Savaka, no matter Sariputta, Moggallana, Anuruddha, they talked about, they have Dhamma discussion. By the end, they all went to see the Buddha because they would like to understand more, see, more than they can think about in words. So the words that he got from the Buddha with their own accumulation can share it with the other by each different accumulation. Sariputta, Moggallana, Anuruddha, and so on. See, but for the Pacceka Buddha, the time for his enlightenment is the time when there is no Samma Sambuddho. So the people who are interested to listen to the teachings is not as in the Buddha's time. So he taught as much as people can get it to understand. That's why there can be Pacceka Buddha by accumulation, not hearing any words at all, but the understanding, just like now, little by little is there. It's the place to keep the teachings, not throw it away at all. It's there from word to word, from time to time, until then. So just think about the teachings of the Buddha, the details, the depth of each word, the profoundness of just very, very daily, very, very common. But what is there? It's much more than that. For example, just talk about a little at a time. See, about the truth, not the whole all at once, impossible, just a little bit at a time. And who is wise to teach, to use the Vohara, the Banyati, see, Sariputta and Ananda, and those who are very skillful, see, to teach in their own way from accumulation. That's all. That's why it shows the anatthaness and the paccaya condition for each moment, for each reality to arise. Even right now, see, this is the profoundness of the teaching, just about that which is conditioned to arise only once in samsara, but it can be object of understanding from considering, developing understanding. Each moment is not lost, it's there. Like that which marks on the stone is there, see, from moment to moment, all the accumulation. That's all. So Sariputta and all the Savaka came to see the Buddha and asked about their own words, whether how much it's right or more than that, how much. But Pacceka Buddha, no Buddha, see? So the understanding is the same, experiencing the Four Noble Truths, and it depends on accumulation. The same moment, maybe 12 people had experienced the Four Noble Truths, but the understanding according to accumulation, to be Sariputta or Moggallana or Anuruddha, or when there's no Buddha, Pacceka Buddha. So what about just one word from Buddha, the same word as Pacceka Buddha, the same word as what Sariputta said? It depends on the listener to understand. But the word is the same, but the panya which said it are different because of accumulation. Even Sammasambuddho said this, and Pacceka Buddha said this. Panya is different. Even right now, see, there are so many people around, it depends on accumulation. Each word is taught by the Buddha. It depends on considering and reconsidering to understand deeper and deeper to the truth of that which is now appearing. So deep, but Panya can go down deeper and deeper, little by little, to experience what Buddha said. So true to the Savaka, who has experienced the truth by himself. So more confidence, when there is more understanding of the teaching with the Dhamma, Chanda, Viriya, and so on. But it has to be by Panya or with Panya. No matter we talk about Sila or Samadhi or Panya of the Eightfold Path, it has to be with Panya. So if someone say that it has to be Sila first, what about Panya? If there is no Panya, can just Sila lead to understanding the truth? Impossible. They forgot that each word of the Buddha bring about understanding of what he is talking about. For example, Nama. See, that which experiences, it's this moment. It's not that which is experienced. So much different. Because that which is experienced, for example, that which is seen or that which is heard, has its own characteristic to appear. But for Nama, no body, no rupa, it's just that which experiences. By then, no one at all. So we talk about that which experiences many times a day, even right now, seeing. But seeing does not appear as no one and no self and nothing at all. Otherwise, there must be nothing, only that which experiences, not the object of the experiencing, but the truth of a reality which is conditioned just to arise. And by then, the understanding of what is meant by pop up, no doubt, unexpectedly.
Ajahn, may I ask question? When you say pop up, like when Panya arise, it's pop up because it's special, because like our normal life of Putucham is like akusala, and Panya like is special because we like what is lopa mostly and tosa and moha. So when wisdom is there, so it's like special and pop up moment.
Okay. Does whatever appear arise?
Again, please.
What is now appearing, does it arise?
So it has to arise, then it
Okay. Is there any keen and clear understanding at moment of its arising?
No.
So not pop up yet. Because it has to be Panya, which understand more clear, with comprehension, no doubt. Because when Panya is not enough, no matter what is there, it's object of doubt, for sure. So it is not just let it appear as that. What about the understanding? It's not the real pop-up, because no Panya.
So it pop up with Panya.
Certainly.
And I think it also indicates, Haji, that it's unexpected and not anyone who can develop Panya or anyone who can practice or make understanding arise. It pops up when there are conditions, when there's been the right considering and the accumulation of Panya to condition that Panya at this moment or any moment completely unexpectedly of any object, any reality that is appearing without any selection or any self doing anything. So I think this is also the point.
Because when Panya arises, Panya at that moment, no doubt, see the anattanness, that is unexpected. There's no doubt. But then later, if I then do is expected, that's wrong. But Panya see the anattanness at that moment, which understands Dhamma.
When Panya pops up, it just understands what appears at that moment and then gone instantly, not belonging to anyone, not to be clung to because it's gone instantly.
But Harji, there's understanding at the level of pariyati. The understanding at the level of pariyati does not experience that pop up. It is when it's direct experience, then it's pop up.
Oh, I see.
Ajahn, you said some moments ago about Nama, no one at all. It's different from Rupa. So we cannot say the same of Rupa, that it is no one at all. Is that right?
Because you see that it's not just the words, but the truth, the nature, the characteristic of that as it is. For example, we just say it out many times. It's Nama, this is Nama, and that is Nama. But that which is Nama does not appear as Nama at all, right? Only the word, like Lopa, we can say. But the Lopa does not appear as Nama. And what is meant by Nama? It's just it's conditioned to arise, to experience. No one can stop its arising. No one can stop anything to arise because all dhammas are anatta. And there can be more understanding, more confidence of no one and no thing to directly experience what is there. Direct understanding pop up, see? And because of the object which appears pop up too, no world, no one at all, only that. And it means that the moment of understanding, the arising of that which it experiences or that which is experienced with no word at all. It's like a moment of tasting something, no word, whether it's so sweet or so sour at all, but it's there, experienced beyond words. So the understanding of Nama, when it appears only, if that nature which arises and experience does not appear as that which just experience, no shape, no form, no color, nothing in it at all. It arises to experience and then even it falls away. It cannot be known. Just as a single one, by way of processes, the mind process and the sense process, we know that after seeing, Panya cannot arise instantly. And the appearance of the object through the sense door and the bhavanka in between and the mind process, fine line between the mind and sense door, see? Exactly what appears as the same, but in truth, that which is experienced through sense must be different from the mind, right? See, who knows without the words of the Buddha? So what appears to whom, depending on to Buddha or depending on to whom, but that which appears has to be as it is. No one can change the way it is. There must be the sense to the end before mind can experience that replica, not that real one. This is the fine line between the sense and the mind, the photocopy and the real one. So what appears as it is now what about after seeing sampatichana santirana? Do they appear? See, so only that nimitta of reality which experiences is there to be known as no one, no thing, no being as people and thing, but that which is there experiences, nothing at all. Otherwise, how can there be the clear comprehension of the nature which appears as not self, just as it is, experiences? And when the object of that which experience appear, right understanding understand, it's not that which experience, but it is that which is experienced. Otherwise, it cannot appear. The beginning of direct experience of what we have studied so long from the intellectual understanding to the moment of direct awareness with the beginning of understanding directly of that object, which is the object of awareness, little by little, with letting go. Otherwise, it cannot lead to understand the moment when reality is there, covered by ignorance and attachment to the other object which follows so rapidly as something permanent.
And Nina, isn't the rupa that is touched now, or the what is seen now, isn't it taken for someone and or something all the time so commonly, like when touching the arm or the leg or the head, isn't it taken for my head, my arm, something?
Yeah. It was taken for something.
So any nama, any rupa is taken for someone or something.
Yeah, right.
So commonly, yes.
I have to consider all that Ajahn now is explaining about the photocopy and the real one and the sense door and the mind door. For me, it's really a difficult subject.
I think it's like the point Hajit brought up about visible object. We know the countless visible objects being seen, but at the moment of understanding, it's just the characteristic of visible object that appears. It doesn't matter, and it can't be known whether it's a visible object in the idle process or the mind door process, whether it's the real one or the replica, the copy of the real one. But it's the same, it's the nimitta of reality, it's the characteristic of reality that appears. And at the moment of understanding, there's no thought about, is it sensed or visible object or mind or visible object, or how many visible objects have been seen, or is it reality or is it concept, because it's just that reality which appears. And that's what the teachings are about, the development of understanding of what appears right now, no matter we're looking at a word in a sutta or going about our daily life, what appears at this moment.
Otherwise, it's a story again.
It's a long story, and it's so easy to think that because it's the Dhamma, that it's a good story, but it's still not the understanding of just what appears at this moment.
Yeah.
So Loba leads us astray all the time.
But what just appears at this moment, these words are hard to understand.
But the point is that life is just at this moment, and there is the visible object that's being seen now, or the sound that's being heard now, and there can be understanding right now of what appears. It doesn't matter what level or degree of understanding. When there's understanding, it is just the reality which appears. No need to think about whether it's the photocopy or the real one, or which doorway, or how many visible objects. It's just that which appears right now. So gradually understanding comes back closer and closer to understanding what appears now.
So it has to be a beginning, and then Panya is weak, and we have to accept
and
that.
it has to begin now, and there has to be the understanding that it's not my understanding or anyone else's understanding. It's just the reality that gradually accumulates. It doesn't matter if it's weak or strong or anything, because that's just clinging again to oneself that minds. But the moment of understanding, it just understands.
Thank you. Yes, that it doesn't matter is very important, because it matters that it's clinging.
it's more clinging, bringing more disappointment, more despair, more doubt. And life is so very short. So it has to just develop by accumulations and by conditions, like Ajahn was saying. Sariputta's accumulations are not Moggallana's. Each one here, the accumulations are different. So it's just a matter of understanding with the development of detachment of whatever appears at this moment. So there can be understanding of clinging even now.
Kusara.
Hi, Anli.
Hello,
nice
this is
to hear
Anli,
you.
yes.
Yes.
I have a question. Can I ask you?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Yes, hello, here. Actually, the question is about Sana. Sanya, and as everybody knows, that Sana has the functions to mark whatever object that appears to the theta. Is that right?
Yes.
So yes. So the question is, of course, Sana marks a lot, like the reality that appears. But how about concept? Can Sanya mark a concept or even a story?
Exactly the same. It has the same function to mark and remember whatever is experienced. So at every moment in life, from the very first moment to the very last moment, it marks and remembers what is experienced, no matter it's a reality or concept. Like how do I remember your name is Anli or Nina's name is Nina? Because Sanya with the cheetah is marking each sound, each concept experienced.
Okay, yes, it's clear. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, at every moment, the same function to mark and remember whatever is experienced.
Yes, because I heard once that Ajahn said that, for example, the whole tables cannot impinge on the eye sense at once, right?
The whole what?
The whole table, for example.
Because what is the whole table? It's just an idea.
So,
it cannot impinge on eye sense, but there can still be thinking about the table. And at the moment of thinking, even not even in words, as soon as there is thinking, there is marking that impression, that idea, that color.
Yes, yes. So actually, once I heard Ajahn said the whole table cannot impinge on the eye sense. So I think it must be accumulation of countless visible objects to form a shape. And because
countless moments of thinking about impressions and colors and ideas with Sanya at each moment, ready to condition the idea of whole table.
Yes. So can I say that because of the accumulation of countless Sanya, then the countless nimitta of visible objects become shape and form. So what I mean is, without accumulation of Sanya, there can be no shape or form. Is that correct?
Without the accumulation of countless Sanyas having marked and remembered the shape and form, there can't be any experience, any thinking about that shape and form.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. It's clear to me now.
Good points to bring up, Anli. Yes. Sundra, were you trying to say something? No. No. So even at this moment, the reason we have this discussion is because Sanya is marking and remembering what is discussed, what is understood in order to condition more thinking wisely with understanding about the Dhamma. Otherwise, if it wasn't possible for Sanya to accumulate and condition such wise thinking, the Buddha wouldn't have taught. But it's possible for that kusala sanya and kusala thinking to accumulate, and for the understanding with them to accumulate, to condition the direct understanding, the popping up of panya, to directly understand visible object or sound or any reality appearing. but there has to be the wise considering again and again. And without sanya, marking and remembering those ideas about realities, it's impossible.
Yeah, the point that I was going to make before is I totally agree with Nina, because I think it is difficult. Really, it is. But I think, as you're alluding to too, Sarah, is that it's important not to let that get in the way. As Ajahn has stressed, there needs to be incredible patience. And it must be difficult. That is the nature of the Dhamma. It is difficult. It needs patience, persistent patience, to slowly uncover the truth. But that takes, as we're beginning to realize, many, 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 many moments of many lifetimes, if we're lucky, when we hear about the Dhamma. So we're very fortunate now in this lifetime to have heard the Dhamma from a wise person, to be able to contemplate it and consider it carefully. But I was really in agreement. I've just been going for a walk, and I had a fellow turn up, and so I got distracted. But I agreed with what Nina was saying, but that's the nature of Dhamma. It must be difficult. Otherwise it wouldn't. I don't believe when people say it's easy, well, they're being incredibly naive and somewhat foolish if they don't realize the Dhamma must be difficult, and we need to be persistent. We need to be honest. And I always appreciate what Ajahn always talks about is such a barami, having that commitment to truth.
If someone say that Dhamma is easy, mean that person don't understand Dhamma. Dhamma is hard even to the start. If someone say Dhamma is not profound or easy, mean they don't understand yet.
I totally agree with that, Haji. Totally agree. And I think that point that you made earlier on today, which I was going to make a comment at the time, was that without reality, as we understand, or without Paramatta Dhamma, ultimate reality, there cannot be a conceptual world of things and people that we often will mostly think about. It's all dependent on those Paramatta Dhammas, which I believe that's what you were saying earlier on today.
As we don't have a lot of time, Alberto and Tom, I think, would like to bring up the discussion, the topic about power again, right, Alberto? I just bring it back to Ajahn the other day or last week, and also Tom brought up the question of power, so such as in Bhavasava and at the beginning of life, in the first mind or process, the object being power, be existence or being. And we also talked a bit about in Paticca Samuppada, the Upadana conditioning power, referring to karma and birth, upati bhava, karma bhava and upati bhava. And the other day, we had a bit more discussion, and Alberto kindly transcribed it. And you were referring to how every reality, every rupa has power in the same discussion. But we were wondering afterwards whether you were referring to sabhava, every sabhava, as with a different word, bhava, the long A, referring to the nature of conditioned realities, like visible object has its sabhava, hardness has its sabhava, which is a different word from the bhava, as in bhavasava or bhava tanha. Do you have any comment? Because it seems there are two different words being used in the same discussion.
Is bhava of rupa different from bhava of nama? but they both have their own power to be such.
When you're talking about how each one has its own power, are you talking about the same power as in Bhavasava or Sabhava as in
That's why we
its
have
own
to
characteristic?
understand the bhava of rupa cannot accumulate, cannot experience anything, but the bhava of kusala and akusala is there. And when we talk about bhavasava, it is the attachment of clinging, the lopa, to being.
Yes.
But the rupa cannot experience, it doesn't have a vasava.
Right.
So we have to understand the word bhava and the word bhavasava.
Yes. So I think each one, Alberto, is referring to power, the existing or being, not to the characteristic, the sabhava. Do you have
So
any?
does a rupa have power?
Yes.
So that's the meaning of power.
Power.
Power, yeah. Its own characteristic, its own nature. It has to be such. The rupa cannot be power of nama, and the nama cannot have the power of rupa.
Ajahn, in Rupa also there's Sabhava Rupa and Asabhava Rupa.
Such is have or to be with. Power is the nature of it, the characteristic of it. It has the characteristic to be that which can experience the nama bhava or sabhava of lopa, sabhava of dosa. It has its own bhava, its own nature. So it depends on nama bhava or rupa bhava, as long as they are real. Dhamma.
So in the dictionary, Ajahn, there are two different words. One is bhava, as in bhavasava, and bhava spelt with a short a, and then the other is bhava, as in sabhava or nature. Are you suggesting they are actually in effect the same, referring to the same essence or nature?
What about bhava, which means birth?
Yes.
In different planes.
This bhava is the same bhava, as in the short one, the bhavasava, the same word, but the one that is used for nature in sabhava, it's spelt with a long a.
I have no understanding of Pali. I don't know Pali word, but talk about the nature.
Yes.
Right.
Understanding. Yes, please.
When we talk about bhava tanha, as I understand it, that's clinging to becoming, clinging to life, to living.
Excuse me. And we talk about the bhava of lopa, not the bhava.
That's the nature or essence.
That's why when we talk about bhava tanha, it means the attachment to that plane, bhava.
Right, right.
But the bhava of lopa is attachment.
Yes, exactly right.
Bhava, the nature, yes. Yep. Different word, yes. Anything else, Alberto, on that topic, or Tam on question about
perhaps
power?
Perhaps I could just add here that it's always going to depend on the context. I looked into it because I saw that it was being discussed. Bhava and bhava, they both have the same root, literally as the same as the word bhavati or hoti, the verb to be or exists. The common one, of course, is when we talk about the three planes, Kamaloka, Rupaloka and Arupaloka. They're the three bhavas. But sometimes I've noticed that bhava is a grammatical construction. So yes, they are different words, and they can mean different things at different times. They are, but they are sometimes quite similar in some respects, but they do have different connotations. It's only through the context that I believe that you're able to find out what's going on there. But yeah, I've thought about it a little bit, and I noticed the conversation. I'm just trying to give an example. I wrote one down today when I was looking at my dictionary, and I'm just trying to. Oh yeah, for example, they'll use the word udakasa, which means of water. Tattabhawam janitwa, literally, he ascertained that the water was boiling. So that it's often the long a bhawa becomes a use of what we would call, it's like a conjunction word. So as it, like, yes, you talked about sabhawa being related to, you know, that very famous Pali phrase, you know, atano pana sabhawam darinti te dhamma, which means something like dhammas have their own intrinsic nature, thus they are dhamma. So, but you can see the connection with it existing, you know, being very similar to bhava. As Ajahn said, sat means with, so it has its own nature. It's with its own nature. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I know also that it's also the long a can be because of a grammatical construction. And all languages are like this, I'm sure, to a lesser or greater degree, that we use longer, you know, accents on certain words, or we say even the word slightly differently, but we'll understand the context, in which that word is being used.
Yes, so I also checked, I mean, there are different words, the bhava meaning existence or being, and the bhava, like in sabhava, meaning nature, but they're related. So they're two different words, but they are related. And so it just depends on the context, the exact meaning. So when Ajahn was talking about Kamasava and Kamabhava and Upapati Bhava, referring to Bhava, the first one, but when she was talking about the Bhava of each reality, she's referring to the second one, Bhava, the long one, but they're connected, but two different words.
Is the Bhava with the long A also related to feminine and masculine as well, right?
I looked at that too. I think they're both masculine nouns. They're both the same in that respect. It's like, you know, like patipati and patipada. They're used in different contexts. They have kind of similar meanings sometimes, but they can't be used interchangeably. Like you can't, you know, interchangeably use bhava and bhava. They would have to be used in specific ways grammatically. But they have a similar root word, like pati and patipada, the word pad, you know, or way or path or whatever, they both have in common, but they're used differently in different contexts. And I believe it's the same with bhava, bhavati, hoti, you know, it's always going to depend on the context, but the verb,
I think Betty's asking about the term for masculinity and femininity.
In the Buddhist dictionary, they also define nature as being feminine and masculine. I want to know if that's...
I believe they were both... both the same nouns. These are kind of relatively important, but I believe that both that's not going to be a determining factor in understanding the word, but it may be helpful sometimes because it depends on what other words are in the sentence. But they essentially come down to this: to exist, to be, and then they're going to be different in different situations, or you could use the words obviously in different contexts.
Was there anything else you wanted to ask Ajahn about bhava or?
Oh, yes. I think that if we understand what it's meant by bhava, the nature of reality, right? No change. The bhava, each reality has its own bhava. That's why there is the word sabhava,
yes,
with its own nature.
Yes.
And for bhava, it means planes of existence. But when we come to the Paticcasamuppada, there are two words, kamma bhava and uppatti bhava, right?
Yes.
So what is the bhava of kamma bhava? See, what is the bhava of kamma bhava? It has to have its nature. So the nature of kamma bhava is cetana.
Yes, the nature
For
of cetana.
what plane of existence, see? That's why there is three sankhara, punya-pisankhara, apunya-pisankhara, anicca-pisankhara. These are kamma bhava. And the bhava of it is cetana. Otherwise, it cannot lead to different planes of existence. So the second short one, bhava, means the planes of existence, comes from bhava of cetana.
When you say the bhava of cetana, can you speak a little bit more about that?
Because cetana to be punya-pisankhara or apunya-pisankhara or anicca-pisankhara lead to condition different birth in different planes of existence.
It's the sabhava, the nature of cetana, of that degree,
It's
which
kamma bhava.
conditions those, that is karma, that condition, so it brings about those results.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's why we can understand what is meant by punya-pisankhara and apunya-pisankhara, what existence to be, anicca-pisankhara, by kamma bhava. The karma, which is conditioned for birth in different planes.
So I was wondering about when we talk about bhava in the context of kammasava, bhavasava, and ditthasava, and avijjavasava. We, as I understand, the anagami, for the anagami, the first one, kammasava, is
Kammasava.
Yeah, it's totally eradicated. But for him, there still is the bhavasava. So I am wondering what it is. I am told that it means clinging to being. But so at that moment, what is the object then? So that is my original question. Actually. Would you please help to clarify this point, Ajahn?
We have to understand the cause and the result. So when we talk about kammasava, those who still have kammasava would be born in what plane? And without kammasava, anagami, born in what plane?
So the anagami is born into the Brahma plane.
See, because of no kammasava.
So, but when talking about, so that bhavasava is very subtle clinging to
Includes all.
being reborn in that Brahma plane. But does that have any, like in daily life for the anagami, does that arise? And at that time, does it have any specific object?
No Kamasava, but still have Pavasava. That's why there must be birth after death, but not in the Kama world.
Now, what is the
I'm not sure
object
about
of the citta at that moment of Pavasava? What Dhamm's question is, what might be the object of the citta at the moment of Pavasava?
When there is no clinging to the sensuous object. But is there no clinging at all? Or as Arahata, there must be clinging and ignorance of that degree that it can condition birth, but not in the Kama world for Anagami. Because no attachment to sensuous object anymore, completely eradicated.
So can you say that there might be clinging to seeing or hearing, but not to visible object or sound? Or
We have to understand what is meant by clinging to the sense object and experience sense object, but no clinging to sensuous object. Otherwise, Anagami might not be different from Sakatagami and Sotapanna.
No more seeing or hearing or any sense objects, sense realm objects, just the subtle clinging to existing or being.
Sarah, I wonder if this can be clarified by putting it in the context of bhava tanha versus vibhava tanha. Vibhava tanha is when you don't want to, you want to end the life, you don't want to continue existence, whereas vibhava tanha is just wanting to continue the existence.
So usually when it's referring to bhava tanha and vibhava tanha, it's referring to, it can be referring to clinging with wrong view. So for the, even for the Sotapanna, no more clinging with wrong view, no more clinging to life lasting or to the end of life. But there can be subtle clinging to just existing without wrong view.
The commentary says that all the Bhava tanha and Vibhava tanha must be wrong view. The Bhava tanha means clinging to that which there's no more birth, no cause at all, just no more birth. And the Bhava tanha means that it's so permanent, bhava, always there.
Like,
so these two are ditthi.
So only even the Sotapanna
Yeah,
has no
that's
more
Ucheda.
Ucheda and Sasata Ditti.
Yeah, Ucheda Ditti and yeah, that's the ones.
Sasata Ditti. Yeah.
Sasata Ditti and Ucheda Ditti. The Bhava is Sasata and the Vibhava is Ucheda Ditti.
Can it be that, of just to try and answer Tambak's question about what is the object of clinging, can it be when there's bhava tanha? I'm wondering if it can be clinging to the feeling, for example, clinging to the ability to think, to just to experience any kind of object whatsoever, even concept.
This question is for Tambak.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't actually a question. I was trying to suggest an answer.
Yes, we wait for
Her
them.
question is, what is the object of the citta, which is bhavatanha? And I was just suggesting that it was things like clinging to just the experiencing of any object and to there being
so we
feeling
wait for the
and
answer from Dhamma.
I think it's what we are trying to figure out. And if you have any comments on that point, so anything that is not the sense objects could be the object of Bhavasava, right?
Kun Jonathan asked about the 5 khandhas.
I think there can be clinging to the idea that one is conscious. That's all. Just the notion of being, of existing. So not specifically, without wrong view, but just clinging to that fact.
Clinging to
the fact of experiencing. That's my thought on it.
John, I have a question. Does clinging with, say, visible object as the object always kama tanha? Can it be bhava tanha also? I mean, does it have to be kama sava due to kama sava, or can it also be bhava sava?
Tambak? Or who?
Maybe we can discuss it further next time.
I think time's up, so bring it up next time, Sukin and Tam.
Sawadee ka.
Sawadee ka. Thank you,
Thank
Ajahn.
you very much.